think that brake is on. That's why it's there.
Yeah, I guess.
Are you done? Good job, buddy. Aren't you glad you don't have that hanging over you for your trip?
I guess.
It's done. Woo-hoo. That's it? Like now you're done? Like you don't have to think about that anymore? What class was this? Okay. Hi, honey. Up here. Come here.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Man, I hate when this does this.
I have total for the volume and 6.
Okay. And how many transactions?
27.
Cool. That's with Glendale.
Yes, what's on there? Yeah.
Cool. 27.
So 1.3 to reach 10 million.
1.3.
If we get 1.3 more in closed volume, we'll hit 10 million.
Oh.
So, but that includes what's pending.
Yeah, I gotcha. So we got to pen 1.3 more to hit 10.
Yeah.
Hello.
All right, folks, good morning. We are going live. It is 11:31, so sorry to keep you waiting all this time. I'm Mark Sandig. I'm the team leader of Keller Williams Legacy Group. We got a lot of different folks here. And Allison, if you don't mind just jumping in and saying hello briefly as well.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Allison DeMichelle, team leader of KW Elevate. We're happy to have you here today.
Awesome, thank you. So we are here live in Canton. Some of you are in other places. Lots of people are on Zoom. And today is all about listings. This is a market where we all know he who has the listings has the market. Can you mute me over there or turn the volume off? And so today we're going to hear from some of the best in the area. Jose Medina and Rachel Hogue are going to dive in, and this is going to be as interactive and personal and kind of real time as possible as they talk through how they think about their approach to listings, the listing presentation, and then as well as handling some objections from the lovely Miss Melissa Sanford, who is joining us in person and on the screen as well. This is such an alternative universe that we're operating in here. So with that, this is going to be a focused 58 minutes moving forward here. For those who have questions or thoughts who are on Zoom, please post them in the chat. We're not going to be doing everyone asking questions live just due to the hybrid format of this, and a handful of us will be monitoring the chat, make sure those questions get asked to the presenters. Without further ado, I'll yield the floor to you guys.
All right, as we figure that out, you gotta love this. Okay, as we get started with this, just a little bit of background on who we are. My name is Jose Medina. I've been selling real estate for 19 years now. I run a sales organization, 2 sales organizations that combined, we do about 700, a little over 750 listing appointments a year. So this is not something that it's new to us. We do a lot of them, and we have systems built around it to make sure that we're getting the right results out of it, and making sure that the process is the same, regardless if I'm doing it, if Rachel's doing it, or one of our agents in Cleveland is doing it. So this is what we teach all of our agents. So Rachel goes on anywhere between 60 to 80 listing appointments a year. She has a close rate of over 80%. So she's proven that she's really good at what she does. And I'm still active in listings. I was at a listing appointment yesterday, took it. So this isn't someone just teaching a class. This is someone that is living it, and this is what we're practicing on a daily basis. So before we jump into like a live listing appointment, which we're going to role play out, a couple key concepts that we wanted to kind of share about just our mindset and our thought pattern around listing appointments and how we want to kind of approach them. So.
One of the first key concepts for us, especially in training, like with our listing agents, is you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. The reason for that is you're supposed to listen twice as much as you talk. We call these listing presentations, like our listing booklet. We go to a listing presentation, listing appointment, and obviously you expect to do a lot of talking, which we do. And also at the same time, our goal is to really get them talking to us and giving us information more than we are actually talking to them. It helps with building rapport, but it also helps to know what their motivation is, what they need, what they're looking for in an agent, things like that. So that's one big thing for us, is definitely listening more and asking questions that they will answer so that they can talk more than we do.
Yeah. We have a saying, everyone's favorite subject is themselves. So if you can get them talking more and more about who they are and what their goals are and stuff like that, then at the end of the day, they end up liking you because they got to talk about their favorite subject, which is themselves. The other thing, another key concept is knowing DISC. So if you're not familiar with DISC, I would suggest getting on Google or YouTube and figuring out DISC, or attending a class that we have regarding DISC, because knowing who you're talking to and knowing how to adjust your communication style with the person that you're talking to and being able to adapt your personality to theirs is really, really critical.
The platinum rule.
Yeah.
Treat others the way you want to be, how they want to be treated, not how you want to be treated. So good. The other, the next concept is smiling and nodding. You'll notice we tend to do that a lot. As a high I, eyes tend to do that a lot anyway, but making sure that you're interacting with and, you know, shows that you're listening. Again, that's the whole point. We're asking a lot of questions and taking lots of notes. This is a big thing that I think some people take the hard way to learn it. But when you're in someone's house, they've invited you into their property for a reason. So making sure that we're taking notes on their property. It helps also when you're going to write marketing remarks. If you're not doing those right away, like if you're doing those 3 months from now, you're going to have information in the conversation that you've talked about through their house and everything, that you'll have that information then. So definitely be taking notes, listen to what they're saying. They think that you're paying more attention if you're writing stuff down. So write stuff down.
For me, it depends on your personality. Rachel always smiles, but for me, when I'm focused and I'm like listening, I don't necessarily, my natural face is not to smile for whatever reason. And so like I often have to tell myself, like, smile, like make sure that they know that you are having a good time with them. So just making sure that if you're not wired like Rachel, to make sure that you write it down, you keep it in front of you to make sure you're smiling.
The next one kind of goes along with this. It's the importance of humor in an appointment. So there has been studies done on this, and generally speaking, people that interview different agents, they find that whoever they've actually laughed with, or someone who has made them laugh, they feel like they've connected to, and they're going to trust them more, and they will trust their listing to that particular agent. So it seems like kind of a weird concept, because really you're thinking, gosh, I should go in and be able to tell them all the great things that I can do and why they should pick me to sell their house and why that's so important and what I bring to the table. And also it's that building that rapport and having that camaraderie with them that kind of puts you on a human level, I think, that you can just laugh and, you know, some people are a lot harder to crack than others. I'll also say that. So your appointments might be a little bit longer. It might take you longer to get somebody to chuckle with you, but it is super important. It can be a lead indicator as to if you're going to get the appointment or get the listing or not.
And if you're not funny, you can script funny. I tell the same funny, stupid, cheesy jokes on every listing appointment, and I'm not naturally funny, but if I just put some thought around it, I can make people laugh a little bit. So
Helps with the smiling too.
yes. And then the last two things that we have is the way that you handle pricing and the way that you handle the conversation around commission is 80 to 90% of your success in that appointment. They may like you, they may think you're the funniest thing ever, whatever. But if you cannot handle the pricing conversation, if you cannot handle the commission objections as a pro and make them feel confident about it, then your rate of being able to attract a listing is going to go dramatically down. So keep that in mind, that those two, if you're going to focus on key concept, is the pricing strategy and the commission strategy to get the seller's buy-in.
What I would say to that is, like, you are interviewing for a position. Like, this is an interview, right? So like, make sure that you're acting like it is an interview. Like, you do need to bring your A game. You need whatever pump up song you need to listen to in the car to get there. Like this, you are interviewing for that. And that's the pricing and the commission are huge components of that. So
the last thing is try to close on the listing appointment. And I know that sounds very simple, but assume that you're in competition. I've lost listings where I have shortcut a listing because I thought, oh, I have it. They're not interviewing anybody, and I'm not going to really try to get the paperwork signed there or anything like that. And it has been, it's been a problem. And so just assume that you are in a competition, and then try to get the paperwork signed there if at all possible.
for sure.
Yeah. The minute you don't is when the neighbor comes over and says, oh, my cousin just got licensed and he's going to do it for X amount. And then the next thing you do is you get that call that says, oh, I listed it with someone else. So
That is the biggest thing for us, is assuming competition. Because a lot of times you'll go on appointments that are like, it was a direct referral. It was a past client. It was someone that obviously, it was my sister. Like, obviously she's going to use me. And then exactly what Jose said just happened. And so like, what do you do in that situation? Because you don't have signed paperwork, you know, so seal the deal. You're there to seal the deal. So do it.
Can I jump in with a quick comment?
yeah.
I'm unmuting myself. One quick comment. In this market, a lot of people feel like, oh, I've got the listing. Oh, I'm going to get the listing. Oh, it's a family member, and you don't seek to bring your A game in the same way. You are interviewing for the referral. If you've got the listing already, so to speak, you're interviewing for them to rave about you to their family and friends. It's not just about the transaction. It's about their experience that they can tell about. So even in a market or in a relationship where you're confident, stick the landing.
Yeah, good. So we're gonna go over kind of how we set up our listing appointment. Again, it's a system. Every one of them looks more or less the same. And so the key components that we have, there's 5 key components that we run through in this kind of order. So rapport building, which we'll dive into, going over our marketing book, touring the house, pricing the property, and then objection handling and closing. So first thing is rapport building. So one of the things that we like to do that's different, and we do it because it's different, is I think when most agents show up at the house, they immediately, the seller wants to show off the house, right? And so what happens is they go and tour the house, and then the second after you tour the house, all the seller wants to know is, what do you think the house is worth, right? And they don't listen to anything else. And so what we like to do is we like to go sit down at the table and have conversation around who they are, what they're trying to accomplish, and build rapport with them. So one, it's eliminating the opportunity for them just to care about the price. You can't talk about price because you haven't seen their house yet. And then the second thing is it's different, right? So if I've interviewed 4 agents and all of them toured the house first and didn't get to know me, then me sitting down and investing time into getting to know them is really, really important, and it sets us apart. So now everyone's going to do that, and it's not going to set us apart. So what that looks like. So we're going to do some role play. We're going to come in and out of role play with Melissa. We're going to jump into role play and then jump out just to kind of dissect what we just talked about. Okay. So thank you, Melissa, so much for having us. We really appreciate the opportunity to sit down. So tell me a little bit about your situation.
Well, I need to sell because I have to go to California.
Okay. Cool. So are you going out there because of work, or is it family, or what's going on with that?
Family.
Okay. Nice. So do you have family out there, and
Mhm.
okay.
Have
Very
you
cool.
lived there before?
No. Mm-mm.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah.
Cool. What part of California?
San Diego.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow.
I just went out there 2 years ago with my daughter. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Cool. So did you already buy a house out there?
No, not yet. I have to sell first according to Quicken Loans.
Okay, cool. So you want to try to time it where you're going to sell this and then like live somewhere temporarily, or what are your thoughts around how you're going to navigate that?
I'm just gonna travel out there and take the world by storm. I'm just
Okay.
gonna live in hotel rooms until I find
I was
something.
gonna say, do you have family you could stay with if all else fails? Since you're
Yeah,
a
but
temporary
nobody
family.
really wants to live with their sisters. So.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, so do you have a date of when you're thinking like you want to be out in San Diego, or is it like, hey, whenever this thing sells, that's when I'm going to go?
Yeah, no real date. Just
Okay.
whenever.
So no real time to frame.
Yeah, I mean, I know my house is gonna sell in like a day, so.
Sure. Yeah, it looks beautiful. I can't wait to see it. Okay, so you're going to California, San Diego. You're going to figure it out as you go.
Mhm.
Okay, awesome. So I want to make sure that this is a good use of your time. And so tell me, everyone wants to go over price, obviously, and then we're going to go over that. Outside of price, what else is important for me to go over with you? Pause. We say that's a script that we say at every listing appointment. Outside of price, what else is important for me to go over?
Just commission.
Okay. So commission, just kind of what the charges are when you're selling your house and.
Yeah.
Okay. Outside of commission and price, what else do you want me to make sure? What else do you want me to make sure to go over?
Well, the other 10 agents that were here yesterday kind of went over their marketing stuff.
Okay.
and-
Awesome.
Been doing a lot of interviewing.
Yeah.
It's gotta be exhausting.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So you said you had a couple other agents over
Yeah, 10 yesterday.
10 yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
You're the first of 8 today.
Okay, cool. So what are you looking for? What's important to you in an agent?
I just want somebody to shoot me straight.
Okay,
I don't want to be lied to. I don't want to be misled.
okay. So you talk to other agents, you plan to talk to more. What I have found is typically when a seller has found the right agent, they stop interviewing other agents. So can I assume that you haven't found someone that you're comfortable with?
There was like a couple that I liked yesterday, but nobody really wowed me yet.
Okay. So if we go over commission and we go over pricing and we go over marketing, what else is important for us to go over?
I think that's it.
Okay. So a lot of my clients want to know about like things that need to be done to the house. Is that not important? Are you planning to sell as is? Talk to me about your strategy with that.
Yeah, I have to take all of my money to California with me, so I don't really have any money to do any upgrades or any fixes right
Okay.
now.
Okay. So we don't want to worry about what we see is what we get. That's how you're entering the market, all of
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
Okay. Awesome. So we got commission, we got pricing, we got marketing book. We're going to sell it as is. Anything else?
No, I think that's pretty much it.
Okay. Awesome. So have you used a realtor before to sell a house?
No, this house has been passed down through my family for years.
Okay. So it's your first time ever selling a house.
Mhm.
Okay, great. So a lot of times what first time sellers need to be navigated through is like the closing process, when it's going to close, when you need to give up possession, and then all of the costs involved with that. Do you want me to go over that stuff, or do you feel like between the 10 other agents that you've talked to, they've done a good job with navigating through that?
I mean, I feel pretty good about that. And,
Okay.
I know that from interviewing them, it just depends on the buyer's needs too. So,
Okay, cool. So you've talked to a bunch of agents. How can I make this an appointment at 10 that you don't want to like schedule? I'm sure interviewing agents is a blast, right?
Oh, so fun.
And so what can I do today to make sure that this is a good use of your time?
Well, I'd like to show you the house because there's a couple areas that I'm concerned with. I want to make sure that you know about it, and then, just making sure that I like your marketing plan and making sure that you're going to take good care of me.
Okay, cool.
What company were you guys with? I can't keep it straight.
Keller Williams.
Keller Williams.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever heard of you guys.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we'll go over stats about the, where we sell at and how much we sell and stuff like that.
Okay,
So, yeah.
great. Cool.
I think, outside of the company, the agent and who you're doing business with on a day-to-day basis, that's really the important part. You want to have a good company and a good name out there, but the agent is really who you're talking to on a daily basis. So your experience and who you're basing on who you should go with should be off of the conversations that you're having with the actual person. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Nobody actually said that to me yesterday. So,
Cool. All right. Well, let's go ahead and, pause. So, Rachel and I, any questions about the getting to know you part? Yeah.
What if you have a pretty good conversation? Like I got a listing appointment today. I know he's not in a rush. I know what he's looking to sell. I know the price. Like I feel like, yes, I didn't say, yeah, what do you want to know from me, or what can I make? How can I make this a great appointment for you? But if I kind of already know his story, I don't really want to pretend like I didn't already know that going in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So we have a red sheet that is like a seller questionnaire that we get filled out beforehand, and we'll drop it in the chat box for people to have it. And so a lot of times beforehand, I know all of the stuff that I already asked them. I know that she's going to California. I know her time frame, all of that stuff. And I want to still hear it again. One, to validate her that she is, that I know her story and I know her situation, and it's just building rapport. And like on our team, sometimes another person on our team gets this information and it may be accurate, but they talk to the wife, and then the husband's sitting there and saying, no, I need to be there by September 1st. And you want to just hear the story again. So, and again, people like to talk about themselves. So let's let them talk about themselves.
And things do change. If you've set the appointment a week ago, like, and had that conversation, things can change where like all of a sudden now I do have a timeline where I didn't a week ago, things like that. So.
Any other questions about the getting to know you, rapport building part? Good? Okay. So Rachel and I do vary a little bit on how we handle the next part. Rachel, before she tours the house, she likes to do the marketing book. I like to tour the house and then do the marketing book. It doesn't really matter one way or another. I'm sure you can tell why you do it that way.
The reason why I do it is the marketing book is the time where I feel like I'm talking a lot, which in the listing presentation, we're not supposed to be talking a lot. We're supposed to be asking a lot of questions, but I have to get some information to them that they don't already know. So I have found that I've done the rapport building. She's been answering most of the questions, so she's been talking the most. So now I go into the marketing book to explain who we are, what our team does, all of that, our marketing, things like that. So that now it's like kind of my turn to talk, and then we get to go through the house. So then she's doing all the talking again. So it's a little bit of back and forth, like tennis match. And then the last part being like the pricing and comps and things like that is more me talking and presenting information to her. So I just do it that way. So it seems a little more back and forth, but.
Karen Roncata asked, do we do a 1-step or a 2-step? We do a 1-step unless it's like a more, I'll say I do a 1-step unless it's a more expensive house. So if it's a more expensive house and it's kind of more intricate, I can still 1-step it and I can still comp it out, but the seller doesn't feel like, the seller's like, my house is so unique. There's no way you can come in and have comps already. You need to see my house before you can actually give us.
I would say too, the red sheet that you're getting a link to, like that allows us to do a 1-step because we get so much information about the house. What improvements are you doing? What are your favorite things? Anything unique about it, things like that. So we're able to pull really good.
Oh, there is stuff in there.
Yeah, so that helps too for the 1-step.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so let's transition over to the marketing book. That's you.
I don't know how much of the marketing book you want me to
Right.
do since it's.
So it's a little bit hard to do the marketing
Hi.
what I provide as a listing agent is going to be different than what Sam provides or what Christine Stowell provides, or so it's completely different. The point is
Sorry.
okay. So the point is that you want to have a marketing book that explains who you are, what your track record is, and what unique selling proposition you have.
What separates you from everybody else?
Yeah.
Why in the 18 people that she's interviewing, why she should pick us over everybody else?
Right. So do you want to go over like track record, since she asked about that, and then maybe team versus individual agent?
That's fine, 'cause I never talk about those. Sure I do. So Melissa, you had asked just some questions about us and who we are. I know you said you didn't know of Keller Williams. So I just wanted to give you a little information, and all of this is information for you to keep, just so you know, because I'm not going to go over all of it. There's a lot of info here. But a couple things, I do want to let you know that we are top team in Stark and Summit County. I know being here in Stark, it's important. That's probably important to you. We do have, just with our stats and things, like our team sells a home every 8.5 hours. We have a strong team of a lot of agents that are working really hard for our clients. So we're able to do stats like that. Now, one thing you asked about Keller Williams that I want to point out is that Keller Williams does have over 180,000 agents worldwide. I would recommend, doing a quick Google in between your 18 appointments today. It is, the largest real estate company in the world right now. So definitely have grown recently. It's a great company built on a lot of great principles. We've actually moved from another company to Keller Williams on purpose because we felt like we were really in alignment with them and what they stood for with training and values and things like that. So it has been a great company for us, and we appreciate the kind of umbrella that they give to us, that we can run our own team and our own company underneath it. The other thing too, it sounds like you're kind of savvy online. I would recommend that you check out our reviews on a number of different Google reviews, Yelp, things like that. It is really important for us to have, we actually have a 5 out of 5 star review on Zillow right now. So that's important to us as a team, that we're making sure that we're not just selling houses, but we're creating raving clients that are willing to, stand up and tell the world that, they've done a great job for us and we would use them again. So any questions on any of that?
So how many houses do you sell?
The team last year sold over 1,000 houses in 2020 in a COVID year. So that was pretty exciting for us. We hit our goal last year, which was great. So, we have quite a few agents. Average agent right now is selling about 7 to 10 houses a year. That's an average real estate agent in the US. I don't know exactly what our average is per agent if you did on the team, but we are all well above that, in the 30 to 80 range.
Gosh, that's a lot of houses. How would you have time for me?
That's a really great question, and actually leads me into this other part. So this explains to you a bit about how our team works versus an individual agent, if you will, or even other teams and how they're set up. So we do areas of specialization on our team. For example, Jose and I are listing partners on the team. Our area of specialization is meeting with sellers, marketing our properties, getting them sold for top dollar in the shortest amount of time possible. Now, our other promise to you is to sell it with the least amount of hassle to you. And we're able to do that because we have other support staff, if you will, along the way. So like our listing department, who helps us, like our photographer is part of that department. We're also getting feedback from all the showings. We want to find out if somebody is not writing an offer on your property, why not? Is it because it's too far from work and the commute's just too long? Well, we can't pick up your house and move it, unfortunately. Although we should look into that because that could be a real doozy of an industry. Can't pick it up and move it, but maybe it's like they didn't care for the wallpaper in the dining room. Well, that's something we can talk about and negotiate. We can see about having the wallpaper taken down, right? Like that doesn't need to be a reason why you're not writing an offer on the property, okay? So that's important to us. They also handle all of the marketing to the different websites. We advertise on over 80 different websites. So we want to make sure that there are no errors, spelling errors or punctuation errors, things like that in your listing and that your pictures are looking great. No matter if they're looking at their phone this big, or maybe they're blowing it up on their big screen in their living room, looking at photos online, we want to make sure that it's going to look good no matter what format they're looking in. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Perfect. We also have a closing department. They help us. These are licensed agents. Once we're under contract, once we have accepted a contract on your property, they're going to help us get to that target closing date. So there is a lot of things that are happening: inspections, appraisal. There's different addendums that need done, things like that. They're going to make sure that we are getting all that stuff done in a timely fashion and hitting that target closing date. Okay.
Okay.
So I think the main thing though, Melissa, is what we're focusing on you. And so all of those administrative tasks that could bog down an agent, we have that leveraged off, right? And so our focus is on you, making sure that we get you to California as quick as possible so you can live your best life out there. And so we have admin to kind of handle things. So when you hear, wow, I sell 50 houses a year, am I just a number? The reality is no, because if all I'm doing is interacting with you and negotiating for you, and all of that other stuff is leverage, that makes me be able to give a better client experience to you. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense. I wonder how the other agents were going to do it all.
Yeah. So I'll pause there. So a couple things that if you're listening and if you're not on a team, how do I navigate through that is the stat part of it. Use your brokerage, right? Use Keller Williams, use the Legacy, use Elevate, whoever, whatever brokerage that you're affiliated with, use their numbers because their numbers are impressive, right? And so you may not have this long track record, so lean on your brokerage to be able to give you that information. And then as far as a team versus a single agent, again, you have to craft your story of how you are going to give a better experience than, I mean, you can spin it the other way, right? Like, do you want to get lost in a sea of people working on your property, or do you want to have a very personalized service, right? And so it's just a matter of how you want to be able to approach it and what your belief is around that. Make sense? Cool. So we also go over like what we do for marketing and stuff like that, but we won't go into all of that just for time's sake. But the key is having some type of presentation. If you're at KW on the KW Connect, you can actually just go there and get everything you need and plug it in there. But having something to give to them, that's going to set you apart from a lot of other people.
Want to talk about the importance of the quality of that?
Yes, that is a good point. And we have a really fancy one that's really nice. And we've only had that for like 3 years.
Yeah.
We used to have printed off the printer. We put it on glossy paper to make it look nicer, but it was like clip art.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Straight
really
up.
was. It was not anything impressive at all. This is way like 100 times better than what we had. And at that time, we were still selling hundreds and hundreds of houses. So it is important to have something nice. And if you can afford to, and that's not going to be a reason why you don't get the listing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Touring the home. So this is pretty simple. So Melissa, do you have any other questions about how we operate or how we can serve you?
No.
Okay. Does that, I know you said you talked to a lot of agents. Did the other agents have like a marketing plan and structure around what they were doing and seem like they have an actual strategy into marketing the house? Or was it like, just put a sign in the yard?
I mean, you're the first one that brought a folder with information in it. So.
Okay, cool. I think this is a pretty big investment of whoever you go with. So I think that you want to make sure that whoever you go with has a strategy behind what they're doing.
For sure.
Make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. I'm excited to see your house. Do you want to show me around?
Sure.
Okay. So key concepts when touring a house is write down as much as you can and find out as much as you can. I can't tell you how many listing appointments I've won because they're like the other agent didn't write down anything and they didn't ask questions about these items. So key items that we try to get are like what the mechanicals are. So how old is your furnace? How old your AC, roof, windows,
Hot water tank.
hot water tank, key features on the house. So one of the questions I always ask is, you bought this house 8 years ago. When you bought it, you probably looked at a bunch of other houses. What was important to you about this house? Why did you pick this house over all of the other houses that you looked at? And then she's going to tell me whatever. I say, that's good because I want to make sure that we incorporate that into our marketing strategy, because whatever reason you bought it is probably the same reason the next buyer is going to. So we want to make sure that we're putting those highlights and those features into the marketing that we have. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. What other concepts when we're walking around? I mean, looking at everything like shed. Yes, I would love to see your 10 by 12 shed. It's so different than every other 10 by 12 shed. But like being able, like, yes, I would love to see that. I want to walk around the whole house, even though it looks like every other house. Like you have to, I don't need to see that for pricing. I don't need that to help them, but I need that for them to trust me and like me and know that I'm going to do a good job for them. So.
Okay, so she already said that she has really no money to change the condition and she wants to sell as is. Am I still going around and saying, for pictures, I think that we should clean up this? Should we, like, can I say about painting, or would I treat it the exact same walking through as I would if she wasn't as is?
No. Well, what I would say is if I know she has a budget of 0, then I can give her all sorts of staging tips. Like, let's clean this room out as best we can and let's stage it as an office, because everybody's needing an at-home office right now instead of your office and your bedroom and your workout room that we have it currently. So like, I'll give her that because that costs nothing.
Right.
Like she's just moving around the furniture she already has. I'm like, at this point, I know you can ask her, you know, like, are you open to painting? I mean, it's not a super expensive fix, you know, it's a couple $100 possibly, depending on how much we're talking. Like, are you open to that? Do you have the time for that? Would you consider it? No, absolutely not. I don't want to do anything. Then I'm not going to suggest it. And also, or if she's like, yeah, I would consider painting a room or two, then you can always go that route.
Can we pretend as though Melissa had said, I don't want to do much, but I do have $10,000 that I could use to fix up the house.
Oh, let's go. Let's get
I'm not
this.
looking to flip the house, but where do you think it would be most strategic? Talk about the highest return on investment for people looking to refresh their homes.
So I don't know why my phone's ringing. It's on Do Not Disturb. Okay, so the one thing I'll say is I never, ever, 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 ever tell them to do anything until I know that I'm getting the listing. Like, ever. Because if not, then they're taking my advice and listening with someone else, right? They're taking my professional opinion and what I know is best for them. Then they're giving that. I'm just giving that away and they're to go list with someone else. And then 2 is I don't want to insult them before I ask them out, right? Like I don't want to insult them and tell them that green is horrible that you just painted and it needs to be changed before I know that they're committing to me. So that's a really key concept for me. So take it for what it's worth, do it however you want, but that's how I like to do it. So when I'm touring the house, I'm writing the features of the house on the piece of paper. And then I'm writing on the right-hand side, I will write the things that I think maybe need to be done. And I will asterisk so I can remember what I wrote down and stuff. And then the conversation goes, so let's just play it out like I'm not doing anything. So Melissa, I know you said you don't want to do anything. We want to get you to California. You don't want to invest any more money. Would you be open if I could show you a couple things that really aren't going to spend really any money and very little time, but may have a better return than if we didn't do it? Would you be open to that at least?
Yeah, I mean, I probably would. I have a really bad back, so I can't really do anything myself.
Okay.
But you could probably help me, right?
Sure. So like little things like the appointment I was at yesterday, the hot water tank had corrosion coming down off of the pipe. We've all seen it if we've had a home inspection. So like my recommendation was, can you wire brush that? It's going to take you 10 minutes and it's going to save you $100 because if not, you're going to have a plumber come out and do it. Would you be willing to do that?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, great. And the other one was like Rust-Oleum on this handle that was done 10 years ago and still needs to be done right now. Okay, so would you be open to that?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go the other route where there's a couple items that need to be done that are kind of bigger, like carpet replacement or something along that line.
Okay.
Do you want to handle that?
Sure. am I asking her permission at this point, or she's saying she's already done, she's willing to do it?
She's willing to spend some money.
Okay, so we're doing your
Yeah.
scenario. Okay. So I know, Melissa, we have kind of a $10,000 budget right now. And since we did a tour of the entire house and you were kind of asking as we were in different rooms, should I do this? Should I do that? So I really do think we should prioritize this list and see where, we can best invest it so that you get the most return on it. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Perfect. So my thought is, I know you had suggested in the carpet in the living room and the bedrooms upstairs, just because dogs and animals and things like that. And, we live hard on our floors and things like that. I do think that carpet replacement in those rooms would be beneficial. I will also say in the market right now, the sooner we can get that done, can contact somebody and get it done scheduled, probably the better, just because I know people are delayed right now. So something to consider. Would you be open to that?
Do I have to do it, or are you gonna do it?
So that's a great question, actually. We can do it. One thing that I will say, it's going to be coordinating with you to when can they come, what rooms are they doing? They're gonna have to come in and measure, so then get a quote and things like that. So my recommendation is that you reach out to them. I certainly have a list of carpet installers that you can contact, and I would recommend for you to contact, but I would recommend you doing the calling simply for the fact that just of the coordinating of the schedule and things like that. Does that work?
Yeah, okay.
Perfect. The other thing would be, I know we were looking at painting some of the rooms. You said you had a bad back, is that right?
Yeah, I can't paint.
Understood. Good news is we also have painters that we can recommend too, and that can usually be done fairly quickly, although because we want to get that done probably before we have the carpet done. So then if there's some spilled paint, it's not a big deal. But I have a couple recommendations for that as well, okay?
Okay.
One of the key scripts that I use is when we're talking about stuff that needs to be done is I'm going to suggest items that if we spend a nickel, we're going to get a dime back. If we're going to spend a nickel and we're going to get a nickel back, then it doesn't make sense for us to do. Wouldn't you agree? So if we're going to spend money, it's going to be because we're going to get a higher return. So would you be open to those type of items?
Oh, for sure. I need all the money I can get.
Okay, perfect. So just one key item. If you guys don't know what tie downs are, like we talk about them a lot on our team, it's the comments of, does that make sense to you? Would you be open to? And it's a way to get a seller to agree to what you're saying to, instead of just saying, I need for you to do this. It's a way for them to buy in and get their head shaking yes. Okay.
Well, it's working.
Okay. Any other questions about that part?
I have a question real quick.
Yeah.
So she does her marketing while she's sitting down and then she does the tours. So why do you do it different? What do you see from that?
Quite honestly, if I can skip this part, it's because I want to save some time and skip it and not have to go through with it. Like if I know like I'm getting the listing, I'll skip that part. And it's just a time thing.
Got it. Do you still bring it and leave it, or?
Yes. Yeah. And there's like, I'll spend maybe 30 seconds on it. And my joke is, if you can't sleep at night, get this out and read it and you'll fall right asleep. I'm not gonna go over all of it, but I want to leave it for you so you can have it to look over. We also send this before the listing appointment, so they have it. So one of the questions we have is, we sent over the marketing book. Did you get a chance to look at it? Yeah, we looked at it. Like a high C is like, yeah, I looked at it, and on page 3 you have 3 typos or whatever the case is. And then others have been like, no, I didn't even. The other person's like, no, I didn't look at it at all.
Do you
so
email it, or?
We email it out, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, we're gonna move over to pricing to talk about that.
One
Okay.
quick question. Jose.
Yeah.
A couple people have asked about recommendations and you said you don't insult them until they've committed. What if someone's dating, this is part of their dating you, or they're deciding if they want to sign or not. Hey, how strategic is he? What's he gonna ask me?
Right.
This person said, all I need to do is this, and this person said I would need to do this.
Sure.
How do you objection handle that or agree to that?
Yeah, I will throw them a bone. Like, for example, if we're in the basement and the water pipe needs to have corrosion, I will talk to them about that. But I don't want to go through everything, because one of the values is, Melissa, is if you hire me, is that I bring the experience and expertise to know how to get you the most amount for your house, right? And so that's part of what we bring to the table, is to be able to navigate through what makes sense to do, what makes sense to invest, all of that stuff into the house. So once we decide that we're a partnership and we're going to work together, I'd be happy to go over some of the notes that I made on how we can make sure we get you the most amount of money. Is that fair?
Mhm.
Okay. Is that fair is another tie down. Okay, cool. All right, so pricing, we're transitioning into that. So you're listing here on Chelmsford. This is a current listing of mine. Feel free to show it. So your house on Chelmsford, you said you've lived here for 8 years. So what I found on it is 4 beds, 2.5 baths. We saw that it was updated, all that. I have the square footage about 2,584. Does that sound about right?
You know, I added the office above the garage and I don't think that that's included.
Okay, so the garage, okay. The office above the garage, okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you decide to list with us, we'd measure and make sure that those numbers are accurate and we're giving the right information.
Okay.
And then I have you on about a 1/2 acre lot. Does that sound about right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So I just verify the information just so they know what we're talking about. So a couple things. So I'm sure if you've been thinking about selling your house, you've paid attention to what's going on in the real estate market. We like to go over items as far as like, we'll go over the actual comps, but I also like to go over an overview of what the actual market's doing, because everyone hears, oh, things are selling at list price or above list price. It sells in 48 hours. And that's very true in some markets. And I think that what happens is a lot of agents will come in here and just tell you what you want to hear, but they don't actually back it up with numbers. So for every house, we want to make sure that we're looking at your specific market. So it's kind of like if you were to ask me how the weather is in the United States, it's a general, well, it's summer, so it's warm out, right? But it's different in Plain Township than it is in Michigan, right? And so the weather is different and so different than houses, right? A house in Plain Township for 300 is going to be different than a house in Plain Township for 200, right? And so what I like to do, because I'm a numbers nerd, is to like look at like what is actually going on in your market. So what I did was I pulled up houses in Plain Township. I said, give me a snapshot in the MLS of what the activity has been in the last 6 months. And so, and like what the current activity is. And this is for, I did Plain 250 to 325, just to kind of get a ballpark based on the information that you gave me beforehand, kind of knew that it was going to be in that range. Would you agree?
I don't know. Zillow says my house is worth 380. 380.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you believe that?
I mean, yeah, it's on the internet.
Okay, cool. So we didn't. So let's go over that. So I just pulled that for this area. So what we found is in Plain between 250 and 325, and we can go back and look at the numbers in that higher price point. But right now there's 22 houses active on the market. In the last 6 months, there's been 62 houses. I actually do this. There's been 62 houses that have sold in your price point. Okay, so that means on average, every month, about 10 houses are selling. So if there's 22 on the market, that means there's only really a 2-month supply of inventory. So as you already know, there's not a whole lot of houses out there. The one thing I do like to point out is here it talks about the average days on market. So the average days on market actually right now for your style of house is about 43 days on the market. So while we all see on Facebook or hear about, you know, the house that sells in 24 hours and goes over list price, I just want to make sure that we're setting proper expectations that the average is about 43 days on the market for your style house. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
43 days on the market. Does that mean until somebody buys it? Does that mean until we get an offer? What does that mean?
That means you get an accepted offer. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Now our average is 9 days on the market.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we don't expect to be on the market 43 days because of the marketing that we provide and how we go about marketing your house. But the average out there, out of the 18 other agents that you talk to, their average is probably closer to 43. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm not going to go over all the details that we do, but I like to bring some numbers into it. So when I look at your house, and I think this is a kind of a really important part of pricing your house, is when most agents price your house, what they do is they put your house here and then they do like a 1/4 mile radius, and that's how they solely base your comps. Well, I think that's a very old school way of pricing your house, because that's not how buyers look at your house, look at houses, right? They don't say, I want to live just in this neighborhood, right? They're going to come to me and say, hey, Jose, I'm looking for Plain Township, 4 beds, 2.5 baths. Show me what's on the market between 250 and 350, right? And so while we look at it this way with a 1/4 mile radius or 1/2 mile radius in your neighborhood, we're also looking at what is a buyer looking at. So what other 4 bedrooms out there, what other houses that look just like yours. We're going to look at both sets of data to make sure that we're pricing the house as aggressively as we can without overpricing it, but still getting you like the most amount for your house. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. Did the other agents go over that with you?
No, they just told me that houses are selling really high priced and I can pretty much put whatever I want out there.
Gotcha.
And they said it would sell really fast.
Okay. Okay, so I'm not going to go over all of these because we all know how to go over comps, but I will, and you can say if you do it a little bit differently, but like I'll have a couple in mind that I want to talk to them about. That if the house is not as nice, we go over this way. If it's nicer than what I thought it was, then we're going to be pushing it up this way. And so just going through them with the seller and saying, hey, so here's one that just sold. This was in your neighborhood. It's a 4 bed, 2.5 bath. They already know the house. Most likely they already know the house, right? And so kind of going over it and saying, how do you think this house compares to yours?
Oh, my house is way nicer than that house.
Okay. So what about your house do you like better than this? Or what did you think this house didn't have?
Well, my house has the fenced in yard and I really take good care of the grass. They hardly ever mowed.
Mm-hmm.
And their kids were messy, and so.
Okay.
Not your favorite neighbors.
No, I'm
Yeah.
glad they're gone.
Yeah, the pictures look nice, but as we know, pictures can be deceiving, right?
Mhm.
So if we'll just set this one aside, but you think as far as this one goes and how a buyer would look at it, your house would be your house would be better than this one, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool. And then we'll just set it aside and then we come back to it when we try to talk about the range of where we want to be at. Okay. I'm not going to go over all of these because we all know how to go over these comps. Anything different that you want to add?
So 2 things when it comes to pulling comps, like when Jose was talking about like the 1/4 mile. So I'll say I pull comps 2 ways. So I am going to pull a 1/4 mile from you. So that's considered your neighborhood, just like an appraiser does. Because obviously right now in this market, like we can generally find buyers to buy houses. It's getting the property to appraise that can be a struggle in this market. So that's something I want to make sure, I'll be communicating with the appraiser and things like that. So we'll pull it a 1/4 mile, but then we're also going to pull it, just like Jose said, properties that are similar to yours, just like how a buyer would be searching it. So letting them know that you've pulled comps both ways. The other thing I do for appointments, just because I want to get more familiar with the comps that I'm going to be talking to them about, is I'll actually go through and highlight the stats that are very similar. So like anything in this section, like between the 2 lines, bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, if they have a finished basement, 2-car, 8-car, 4-car garage, whatever. If it's similar to the subject property, I'll highlight those. And then if they're different, I'll circle it, because I can then look at a comp pretty quickly and know that that's a close comparable or that's an comparable to my subject property.
So then wrapping it up and how we have the conversation. So we went over these 3. The one on Brushmore sold for $300. This one on Brushmore sold for $298. This one sold for $308. So after looking at this information, what are your thoughts on where we want to kind of enter the market at?
I really thought I was going to get 380. I don't know. I mean, do you think we could get it?
So did the other agents give you that number?
No, it was my estimate.
Okay. So no other professionals came in and said 380.
No, they just said I could list for whatever I want. They would
Okay.
do whatever I said.
Yeah. So it's up to you. It's up to you on how you want to list it and where you want to go. I have some sellers that want to go for a really high number and are okay if it sits on the market for a long time and they don't really have a desire to move in a short period of time. And then I have other sellers that are more willing to like price where the market's at and want to price it for a quicker sell. My recommendation is, if you want to go for like a quicker sell, I think you're 299. I think if you wanted to push it up to a higher number and test the market, it's probably a 3.25. I don't know if over 3.25, like based on what I'm seeing, I just don't know how, I don't know if we can make that happen. Does that make sense?
I just don't know how Zillow got it wrong.
Yeah.
Lorraine has asked, can we just price it high and then come down if we don't get offers?
Yeah. So I'll pause on the scripting. It's your business decision. My thought is I care more about her motivation than I care about the price. So like I listed one a couple years ago and it was like, I knew it was like 50 grand overpriced, but they had a U-Haul truck and they were moving to Florida. So I cared about getting the listing and I wanted to help them price it right. And someone was going to get the listing and I'll start it high and then I'll bring it down later, right? That's my 2 cents. Do with it what you want, how you want to approach it. But if she's sitting there and saying, I want to do 50,000 higher and I just want to test the market and I don't have a lot of motivation, then that's a different conversation and a different thought pattern. But I know if she's motivated, then I'm more willing to take it high than if she's not motivated.
I mean, I have to get to California.
Right.
David has asked, do you ever try to educate sellers on net proceeds?
Yes. Yeah. We go over that.
We do a closing cost sheet.
Yeah, we go do a closing cost sheet.
The other thing too about pricing, and it's something I'm saying in the market right now, is that, keep in mind, Melissa, when we price your property, a lot of times buyers are looking at that price as like a starting point, not an ending point. So they're thinking 385, oh my gosh, am I gonna have to go to 390, 395, or 400 to secure this property? And, they don't even come and look at it then, because we've already overpriced the property and now they're pricing it even higher because they think every house is selling in multiple offers and sells in a day. And so then they just don't even, they're like, I can't spend that. That's not for me. So I want to make sure we're not overpricing your property and that we are attracting the right buyer.
Okay.
Cool.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Would you ever send out like a quick CMA with the 2 different ways that you price the property before you go on the appointment and just give them a range? Would you ever do that?
So the question was, just in case everyone can hear, would we ever send the comps out beforehand? Me personally, I wouldn't. I want to be there to interpret the information and see their reaction as they're looking through it. I don't want them to get the information and get offended or read it the wrong way. So for me, I like to see it belly to belly and talk to them individually.
Candy has asked about, do you talk about appraisal concerns? If she wants to go high, you agree to that?
Yep.
How do you handle that?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, there always are appraisal concerns. So that's a conversation that we're having. It's almost a conversation we have more than our marketing at this point in this market. What we're going to do to combat an appraisal, and even like before the appraisal happens, like what are we doing to make sure that we can get this property to appraise for what it's sold for? And again, that's what your pricing conversation is, your appraisal conversation. If she's wanting to list at 385 and I have comps that are supporting 300 to 325, like you're already having your appraisal conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
So keep in mind, Melissa, like not only do we have to find a buyer, so like just what I was saying about overpricing and attracting the right buyer, we also have to get the property to appraise, unless they're coming in and paying cash, which is a possibility. But if they're going through a lender, we have to get the property to appraise at that value. So, based on the information I'm seeing.
Cool.
You're looking at your watch.
Okay, so objection handling, we'll do the 4% thing. Okay, so why don't you ask it? 4% commission.
Yeah, so somebody yesterday said they would do a 4% commission for me. They even said they do 2% if I brought the buyer.
Okay.
If I brought my own buyer.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So how did you feel about that? Like, obviously that's pretty exciting to do it. Why didn't you sign with them?
I don't know. I didn't really like they didn't have all this fancy stuff that you have. And
Right.
I don't really know what they're going to do I have to bring my own buyer.
Yeah.
But if I get lucky, I mean.
Sure. Yeah. Do you think that someone who's so willing to give their money away and their commission can negotiate for you? Is that the type of person that you want to negotiate for your money? Is if they can't even negotiate for their own commission? Like, I'm imagining someone that can negotiate is important to have on your side, right?
Oh, for sure. I never even thought about it like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So here's what we do for commission, and we're not supposed to talk about commission percentages. So I'll just call it bananas. There's bananas. We're gonna get paid in bananas. So let me explain how commission works and how we want to make sure that we're not giving away all of your equity, but we're also making sure that we have the right marketing approach to it. So for our services, we charge 3 bananas, right? And so that 3 bananas, that goes for our marketing, that goes for our everything that we talked about, you know, all of the service and stuff like that. Okay.
Mhm.
And then the other agent, we have to figure out how many bananas that we want to pay them, right? And so I think what's important is to make sure that we put out a competitive and compelling banana amount for the other agent, to make sure that they want to sell your house, right? There's 22 other houses that are competing for that other buyer, or that are competing for that buyer. We want to make sure that that buyer agent is very excited to get their bananas from us.
Mhm.
And so it's really up to you on what you want to charge for the buyer side. It's completely up to you. But what we have seen, and I will go through these, is this one here, he's charging 2.5 bananas. This person's charging 2.5. This person's charging 3. So based on that, that's what we see as the kind of the market right now. So what are your thoughts on how we want to compensate this other agent?
I mean, I feel like houses just sell themselves now. I mean, how hard is it to be the buyer's agent?
Yeah, I mean, you gotta navigate the appraisal and the financing, and while it's goes quick, it's not necessarily easy.
One thing I will say too is that you want to attract a good agent that is bringing a good, able, willing to purchase buyer. So doing a smaller commission on that side of things, you're going to maybe get agents who aren't as experienced or don't have as much knowledge, or maybe are working with a buyer they don't even know. So you want to make sure that it's compelling, that they want to bring good buyers through. It becomes part of your marketing. Like it shows up on your listing to an agent as to what you're offering to them as well.
So what do other people usually do for you guys?
Because we want to offer like fair compensation, we try our best to try not to do less than 2.5 out there for the other agent. We want our agents to get excited about showing our properties and our listings and all of that. So that's typically what we are able to do.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
2.5.
Any other objections with it? I like to separate it out so they just don't see that I'm getting 6 bananas, right? I want them to see I'm not getting all of that. I'm only getting part of it. And I write down mine and it could be whatever, 3 bananas, 2.5 bananas, it doesn't matter. But I want to write it down that mine's not negotiable, and then draw a line and say, this is what we have to compensate the other agent. Does that make sense? So it protects yours a little bit more, right? So, yeah. Cool. All right. Other questions? And then if all of this sounds good to you, I mean, what do you think about lining up the photographer on Friday?
I mean, I have 7 other people coming today.
Sure. Tell you what, most people don't really want to interview 7 other agents.
Yeah, I'm exhausted from yesterday.
Yeah, I'll tell you what.
Perfume smell. Oh.
Could we maybe do this? If we decided that we were a fit and we wanted to move forward, could I call those agents and let them know that we're listing it and give them the first opportunity to know about the property hitting the market? This way they can start lining up their buyers and you don't have to go through this process anymore.
Oh God, that sounds great.
Okay, awesome. Let's do that.
Okay.
You made it so easy last time.
I mean, I was a good seller.
Yeah.
You work it out.
Cool. All right, questions?
So how did those phone calls go? You call the other agent.
They're usually text messages.
Please get a voicemail. Please get a voicemail.
I said, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. They're usually text, yeah.
Rachel does that for you. Is that right?
No.
Tracy Jones asked a question. What about photos and presentation, curbside offers? Do you get those with really bad photography? I think that's just part of the marketing plan.
Correct, yeah,
Make sure you
professional,
pinpoint if you're
professional
cutting your
pictures.
costs,
Mhm.
what are you also giving up along the way?
Right.
Mhm.
Susan asked a minute ago with the comps, do you do everything printed out? Let's look at this together. Or you just bring your computer and let's click through and show just from a tactic standpoint.
I do all printed.
Yeah,
And because I can leave it with them if they want it, or I can take it if they don't want it. You know, they're really in pack up mode and they're like, yep, no, we've signed and everything, so they're good. But there's something to be able to just hand it across the table and be like, show them in black and white, like this is what's really happening.
right. And because I like to adapt to it, and depending on what the house is, that feels harder to adapt if I have to do it online, right? If I have to pull up the comp online in front of them, that feels harder versus going through and here's the ones that are really nice because their house is nicer than what I thought.
One of the big things about our appointments is prep beforehand, like coming prepared to conversate with them about their property and knowing about their property. So like we have a nice presentation. We brought printed comps that have, you know, highlights and stuff on them that show how their house compared to it, things like that. So I think that makes a difference. Like having the absorption rate, like we talked about before, like that stuff shows that you care and like you're taking time with them and things like that. So
I have a comp question.
Yeah.
So that one was pretty easy. I mean, 300, 308, like I know I'm going in 299, right? But if like my one tonight is anywhere from 107 to 185. And so I'm looking at them, there's 11 of them. It's a 3-bedroom ranch in Talmadge. There's some that I'm like, man, I can't believe it went for 155. The one that's 119, I would think you would get more. The one that's 180, I think is overpriced. Like that's a really big range. So I know you're not really going 250, like I did on that one.
Right.
But how do I, when they say, what do you think? Like, how do I, because I'm a high C, right? So I want to be right. I want to have the right numbers. Like, how do I?
You might want to two-step it. If you're not comfortable with comps, you should probably two-step your appointments. Because two-step means I'm going to check everything out and get a feeling for them. And then I'm going to go back and do the research.
Yeah.
And then go back and say, the comment is, your house is so unique and I want to make sure that I handle this correctly. Let me go back and do research and then come back and do the comps with you.
And I will tell you, there are times that I feel the same way and I walk into the house and I've done a tour of the property and I'm like, oh, you're a 139.9. Like I've seen this, or I've seen the whole range. And like, I know based on that. You also want to check on your comps if they're active, if they're sold, are they pending, you know, like that determines too, because you can list your house for any price you want to list your house at. Those are the sale kind of thing.
Yeah.
We also ask on this seller questionnaire, which you guys all should have, is basically what do you think your house is worth?
Yeah, my 251, he said the neighbor said between 265 and 285, and he thought his was nicer than that.
Okay.
So like in my mind, and he said he had a stack of agents' business cards from the past. So I knew I was either in competition or going to be in competition, but I don't want that to be my number. Like I don't want to come up with that just because he tells me that, right? So what are some tricks and tips to like be more confident with your comps besides, I mean, I guess going out and looking at more houses, like how can we feel more confident in that?
I think it's time on task, just doing it a bunch.
Yeah.
And then like getting real specific. Like I pulled 4 bedrooms. The house was built in 82. I did 1972 to 1992, right? So I'm not getting new construction and stuff like that. And just narrowing it really down to the specific type of house. Is it just ranches, is it 2 stories, all of that stuff. I think more or less it's just experience and doing it more and more often.
It is 12:36.
Okay.
We've got several more questions, but I want to respect everyone's time and folks are beginning to roll off. So I think we're going to call it.
Yeah, that's good.
Just to respect time. Thank you for your questions. We have all of your email addresses, those who registered on Zoom, so we'll be sending out some of the resources that were referenced, like the seller info sheet. And the DISC, it was posted, the DISC training is August 31st, where you master kind of learning about different people's personalities.